Joined with Lesley Visser. We're here to discuss Phyllis George, who unfortunately passed away earlier this year. And Lesley, I mean, you were there when we were discussing getting her onto the Hall of Fame. And I mean, it was before. This is not because she passed away that we decided to make this decision. We made this decision before she passed away because of what she meant. So we wanted to kind of get your thoughts on Phyllis and hopefully a good anecdote or two, because I know she was really important to you and to obviously the entire industry.
Phyllis was everything that you thought she was. She was warm, she was kind, she was authentic. I first met her in 1976, and I was covering the Patriots for the Boston Globe, and she came in to do a story on Chuck Fairbanks, and everybody fell in love with her. The ball boys, the assistant coaches, I fell in love with her. She was just so warm and outgoing. And I remember we talked about what we were going through. I was the first woman to cover the NFL as a beat. She, of course, was the pioneer on the NFL Today. And we talked about the hate mail that we got. And I remember saying I got one in giant capital letters that said, "I don't want to read you or any other broad in the Boston Globe." And Phyllis said that she only read the positive letters because that didn't take very long.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, what was it like? Not that you can speak for Phyllis, but you must have heard some stories. I mean, okay, she was a Miss America, obviously very attractive, and sort of, what was her challenge there? Did she ever talk about her issues there, trying to fit in? I mean, I know you had plenty of locker room stories too. A little bit of what it was like back then for her and for both of you, and how you kind of worked together.
Well, Phyllis didn't do stories about the game. She did stories about the people. And she was as good as anybody who has ever done it. Players warm up to her. She didn't just do football. She also she did a great one with Jimmy Connors. She did a great one with Dave Cowens, who people really didn't, Dave didn't warm up to that many people, but
Right.
she was persistent and she was kind in the way people wanted to embrace her. They rooted for her, and she just was someone that I think all of America fell in love with her.
Mm-hmm. So, when you look at her legacy, is her legacy, every woman who's been behind the desk in that kind of role of a sports center and of those big shows? Is that her legacy? We see it every day on TV.
Well, Phyllis was so much more than even a television superstar. I mean, she was the first lady of Kentucky. For a while, she did CBS News, which she regretted, but she took a stab at it, and she never lost touch. I remember I saw her at a Kentucky Derby, the first Kentucky Derby I did for ABC. It was in the early mid 90s. And what did I know about how you dress to be at the Kentucky Derby? And I was wearing some, kind of beige fedora thing. And I ran into Phyllis on Millionaire's Row, and she looked at me and she said, "Oh, honey, that just won't do, that hat for network television." And
Awesome.
right then she made me switch hats with her.
Really?
Yes, and that's exactly what Phyllis was like. She rooted for other women. She wanted you to be at your best, and she would invite me occasionally. She had the legendary Kentucky Derby party at her farm, Gentleman's Farm in Lexington, and
Right.
she just touched everybody. You'd see Kenny Rogers at one table or Dolly Parton at the other. But I think Phyllis's legacy is that she cleared the path for a role that had been unimaginable until Phyllis got there. And yet every person could say, every young woman could say, wow, I can see it, I can be it. Part of Phyllis's legacy is that generations later, women can aspire to so many roles. They can be on a talk show about football. They can aspire to be an assistant coach, aspire to be a referee. CBS, we have the only all female network sports talk show. And that could not have been imagined when Phyllis and I first started. And one thing also about Phyllis, every time I would see her, she would ask about the people at CBS. She would ask about Bob Fishman and Mike Pearl and Ed Gorin and Ted Shaker, people who had worked 30 years before, 40 years before with her. So her passing is a great loss. And I am so glad her daughter Pamela was so thrilled when I got to call and share this award with her, that we all remember sort of the gorgeous aura that was Phyllis George.